Hey, so our question for you today is, if you can make one set right now, legal and standard, what would it be? Why? Put that in your comments below. Let me know what set you would love to make standard legal. And today we're continuing our touch. Welcome to MTG Tips and Tricks as we continue to talk about getting into standard. And one of the things that people said that were one or two things that why they're not getting the standard or why they're not getting the standard right now is because they're confused about all the cards that are legal in the format, and things like that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and go over, what is legal in the set and how you can look at it. They also said, well, I don't like the rotation. And so we're going to talk about this. So standards is a rotating set. And as in the past, it used to be every 2 years, you have cards good for 2 years. So like Bloomburrow just came out. So you could use Bloomburrow in standard for 2 years and then it rotate out. Now it is 3 years. With Foundations coming out, there's going to be cards that are legal up to 5 years is what they said, maybe even longer depending on how they decide to do that. So we were getting a little bit longer with the cards. So basically, if you want to build a rabbit deck that's just Bloomburrow cards and then slowly add other stuff, that deck in standard is good for the next 3 years, which is great. It's allowed the format to grow. It's allowed it to be a little bit better. In the past, it was like, ooh, if I get this now, is this card going to disappear? Now, granted, also let cards stay a lot longer, so some things that are annoying if you're seeing the same things. Last year, they did not do it, and a lot of cards that already were in the format, people were like, then it really didn't change. But once this rotation happened, it was really good. I believe standard is in its best place ever. So I believe right now, the oldest set, you can go back up to 3 years. The oldest set is Dominaria United and Forward. Dominaria Brothers War, all of those you can play in standard. Now, there are sets in between those, so up to the last 3 years. So the fall set released from 3 years ago is legal until next summer. And then the sets will rotate typically in July, August. Into July, beginning of August typically is when they have a rotation. Now, there are sets that are not legal in there. So if you see that, like, Lord of the Rings released in that time frame, or you see, Modern Horizons released in there, Commander Masters, those are non-standard legal sets. Cannot use those. And the great thing about cards is, if you want to know if a card is legal in a format, you can actually go onto the MTG Gatherer, click on it, and it'll tell you what formats it is legal in, which is a great way to tell if you're like, I'm not really sure if this set or whatnot is legal. You can click on a card from there, go look on it and see if it's legal or not in standard. But there is a little bit of confusion because there are other sets that they make that are just for certain things. Like Modern Horizons 3 is modern, and a few other things can play in it. And then you got your Commander sets, which are really only in Eternal formats, which is Commander, and a few other things you can play that in as well. So standard, though, are those your main sets. So like Bloomburrow, we have Duskmourn coming out. We have whatever they're going to name the race set, or then I think this is the next set if there's like a racing set. And then, you got other sets throughout the next year. You have Foundations as well. That is going to be standard legal. And the cool thing about standard legality is then it pushes in, all those cards are also legal in Pioneer and Modern, which are things we'll get into later and down the road. So do you have to worry about, if you buy cards right now, are they going to be good? Well, look at it. Okay, look at it this way. Every card you buy that is legal in standard right now is basically good for the next year, unless there's a ban, which can happen. But if you even buy the oldest card, you still have 1 full year to use them. And the nice thing is that some of those cards that are good are also good in other formats. So you're not just going to be like, oh man, I bought a Shieldred and I'm only going to be able to use it for a year. Well, guess what? You can use Shieldred in Pioneer and Modern. They're still used in those formats, Commander, things like that. So right now, standard is great. You can get and build whatever kind of deck you really want. There was a tournament the other day that had like the top 8, and it was like all different types of formats, which is great. It's wonderful when you see that in a top 8, when you see multiple different versions of decks. It means that it's very diverse, and you can come with what you want. You could build rabbits, you could build otters, you could build mice. They're all really, really strong. You could build some kind of horror theme thing. With the next one, you can build graveyard synergies. There's just so much stuff that's out there right now, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, at some point, probably once it becomes RCQ season, things will kind of narrow down and be like, oh, you can only, these are the top tier meta decks. But even then, there are still really, really good decks out there that can beat those meta decks if you build them correctly. We're going to talk a little bit more about some other things about it. Standard is a 60-card format, but I want to explain a little bit more about it because I want to help you guys get into standard. I want more people to play. I've enjoyed it. I'm excited about building both bats, life gain bats, and otters here. I got all the cards, most of the cards I need, and probably the next week I'm going to have them. And if you guys would love to play online or spell table, reach out to me. But this is my hope for the day. What is it? Yes, there's a rotation. Cards are good for 3 years. Certain sets are not legal. You got to double check those, but most of those are going to let you know, like Modern Horizons 3, Commander Masters, the like Dominaria United, not Dominaria United, sorry. There was like a Dominaria remastered set. There's going to be another remastered set, I think Innistrad remastered. Those sets are not standard legal, and the cards are legal in other formats if they're legal there. Now, if there's a card in there that is still legal technically, you can use it. That's the cool thing about it. You can use any printing of a card. So, let me give you an example. There's a card called Go for the Throat. There's a bunch of different printings that go for the throat. You don't have to just use the printing that is from the standard legal set. You can use the older printings. They're still legal because the card itself is legal and standard. You can use older printings of cards as well. And so that's cool too, because as I get more and more cards, maybe you have some older cards from the set. And you're like, oh, I have this card. You can use that as well. We'll discuss it more. If you have any questions, feel free to go. It can be a little bit confusing with a rotation thing, but at the same time, now that you got 3 years, you can use your cards for a long period of time, invest in them now, build your decks now, and have fun with that. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, and as always, we'll see you next time.